Okay, well, we're recording. I don't have my notes because they're on the thing.
I feel so, like, journalisty. Like, well, actually, I thought that's a geometry metaphor. The last movie had a geometry metaphor.
It did.
I fell asleep for part of it.
It was the first scene.
Oh, yeah, it was.
It was the intro.
It was the intro about all this stuff. Let's save that for this, because I got comment. Wait, are we recording now?
It's rolling.
Yeah, it's recording.
Oh my god.
Look at that.
Yeah.
We got bloopers.
So, the first movie we saw today was the Fangirl documentary, I Used to Be Normal.
I Used to Be Normal. Story of a boy band
I
fangirl.
thought it was... Or is it like a boy band? A story of a boy band? That's what you said. Never mind.
Yeah? I don't know.
I
So
Used
that
to Be
movie.
Normal, a fangirl story. What'd you guys think of it?
I feel like coming into it, all I knew about it was, I feel like reading, and then the guy, I don't know who he was that came in to talk to us, he was like, he thought that this movie was really amazing because it doesn't pander the audience to try and like make fun of the girls.
Oh, yeah,
and it's
yeah,
very
yeah.
much in like a documentative life.
Respectful way.
Yeah. Wasn't trying to make fun of everybody, and I don't think that they did make fun of
No,
anybody.
no. I think they did.
I would actually go so far as to say it's like a pro boy
Yeah.
band. It's
Yeah.
like pro
Yeah.
fandom.
Yeah.
It's like saying that it gave people a sense of community. With the one girl's story who's trying to become a musician, it kind of implies that it inspired her. But I thought that plot line was weird because it didn't really
Yeah, it kind of like
resolve.
went throughout the story of this like 14-year-old who I guess is like our generation's like fangirl with One Direction, but I think she was 16, and then after she was 16, every time they
It was
checked
just
up on
kinda
her,
like-
she'd never mention One Direction ever again. It was just about her music career and struggling with her family, which was
Exactly. Like, I
odd.
liked the idea of, like, the boy band fangirl throughout the ages type thing, but their stories were a little
it didn't
not cohesive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all felt too reflective because there was like a lady talking about the Beatles, a lady talking about a sort of 90s boy band like Backstreet Boys, and then like a British boy band, and then the One Direction one. But so you never really got a view into someone who was like fully in it. Like the whole movie was like reflections. So it almost felt too historical. Like I wanted more active shots of like girls freaking out and like into their world. Because it kind of gave the effect that the whole documentary was like the end of a documentary.
Yeah.
Where like the sad music is playing and they're reflecting on what this journey did for them.
Yeah. The organization
Very
of it
true.
was very weird. You
It was-
could not tell how
It was
far
very
along you were
confusing.
at any point.
Very confusing.
You
Yeah.
didn't know if you were getting close to the end, like at any. There was
Exactly.
no like rise and fall at all.
No.
I don't feel like.
No. There was, like, the introduction was kind of there. But after that, it was a free-for-all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't feel like I have any real takeaway from it. Like I feel like one girl, like the music helped her get through a bad time, or the music inspired her, or the music helped her find herself or her career. But they were all like that wasn't really
Just kinda-
the moral of it. It was
Yeah.
just
No,
I love
exactly.
boy bands, and boy bands changed my life. What I did find super interesting was the boy band theory. I thought that was
That I
cool,
thought was
and I
really
wish they talked
interesting.
about that more.
The boy band theory?
She went on a whiteboard and was talking
It was
about boy
like-
band theory. She's like,
Yeah,
Yeah, every
has
band has, like,
3 to 6 members.
Exactly,
You
and
need
they
to have
and
like
they each have, like, characteristics. Like, there's like the cute one and the bad boy and like the sensible one.
and like
but then
one
it
has to
even
play an instrument, or they can't be brothers,
Exactly.
which I think is bullshit. Jonas Brothers are a boy band.
oh,
The Jonas Brothers
absolutely.
are totally a boy band. I don't agree.
don't agree.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting.
Yeah,
And I agree, because I think that's another thing that was missing, is it didn't have what most documentaries like this have, which are like outside experts. Like they'll usually have like a clinical psychologist talk about the
No,
phenomena,
yeah, very
a
true.
historian talk about the phenomena. The only interviews the whole movie were the
Were the
four girls.
yeah.
No one else was talked about. And then side note, there's a scene where like they're showing a Backstreet Boys cruise on like a yacht. And that was the best part to me. Like, I want to see what it's like. I want a whole documentary about weird cruises. Like, cruises for people that love Star Trek. Cruises for people that love Backstreet Boys. Because it's like a bizarre little universe where, like, they're obsessed.
Where it's like, and like they were talking about it in the film too. That like it's not even like a cruise for you to go and relax and everything. It's
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
you're just following the
Yeah.
members around,
The whole
like,
time.
because like they were even at the beach and they were like just standing there like watching them play volleyball or like do whatever they were doing. Like that's not relaxing.
Yeah, there was one scene of incredible, maybe unintentional humor where one of the members of the Backstreet Boys, not even in his prime, this is like when they're 40, he's like doing a like full on like swim stroke as fast as he can, and he's swimming away from fans. Like there's like a mob of people swimming after him, and he's swimming away from them. And I've like,
so funny.
I don't think I've ever seen just a swim chase before. It was hilarious.
That was great.
I don't know what the budget on this was, but I wish they would at least like contacted to see if the bands themselves could have talked about their perspectives on it, or at least their management, or like parents. Like I feel like the parents were really left out of this documentary.
Yeah, I would have wanted to hear from
Alif,
that her parents.
The Turkish parents. And also just hearing like why people's opinions on why it happens, because watching these videos of like young girls like having like spasms from like weird excitement at seeing just strangers perform, my brain just wants to know why. Like why does it have such a profound effect? Like they're having out of body like religious experiences from seeing boys.
Yeah, and I feel like they acknowledge that boy bands are themselves really formulaic. I wish they would have talked about the formula.
Yeah.
And like why it works.
How they get made.
It was a really interesting concept of a documentary overall, but like a lot of missed opportunities.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
And then you guys saw Moana?
Yes,
we did.
We saw a panel discussion. It wasn't the full viewing of Moana, but it was the Olelo Hawaii version of Moana with clips mixed in with panel discussions from like 3 people. So I think it was Dr.
I like the way you said that.
Say what?
Because I can't say it.
Olelo Hawaii.
Yeah.
I wrote down names. Dr. Puakea Nogelmeyer. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it.
I think so.
Kamuela Yim, and Kalehua Kava'a. And Kalehua Kava'a was the voice of the Tutu, the grandma, in both of them. Not both of them. I think only
just the one. Just the
one. And so yeah, I don't think any of the other voice actors made it. But I thought it was really interesting. I feel like the panel was a lot more from like a linguistics point of view than a film point of view, definitely. But like talking about, like I really liked how they were talking about the process of translating, because Hawaiian language is just so like, I think it's very poetic. I don't know. There's like a billion ways to say any little thing, and
which I thought was very interesting, especially like not being from here and like not being ignorant, but like not knowing a lot about the Hawaiian language and like so like learning that like and listening to them say like literally 10 different ways to say one thing right in front of you, like that's wild to me.
Because Hawaiian language is super like high context, so it's really really interesting like all of the different things you have to think of when you're like putting it together. And
exactly, and we kind of explained that today too, and even in the Maori language too. I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, so cool. They had the Maori voice actor for Maui in the Maori version, and he did like a snippet of the rap from You're Welcome. It was really cool. I thought it was super interesting. What was the direct translation? About all of the ways to say you're welcome, because you're welcome doesn't directly translate in, I guess, a lot of oceanic languages. So what did they call it? In Hawaiian they called it noia, which wasn't really you're welcome, but it's I did it for you. So like kind of like around the same meaning but different, and
but like you said, in the context of the song it makes total sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. And they're talking about, they said the process was like I had to translate it in like 40 different ways and then pick which ones had the right syllables, and then maybe try and pay attention to the mouth movement. Yeah,
I feel like that was not necessarily a last minute thought, but definitely a last concern.
Yeah, I feel like only with like the prolonged ones they were really concerned, but it was interesting. And I feel like even if you didn't really care about like the linguistic side or the the filmmaking side, you could just kind of appreciate it from like a Hawaiian culture standpoint, like absolutely, wow, they made this happen, that was really cool.
No, it's definitely dope.
As a native Hawaiian who doesn't speak Olelo Hawaii, it was kind of interesting for me to try and like piece together what I knew and what I could understand and what I could like appreciate out of it a little bit further in like a Hawaiian language. So it was cool. I enjoyed it.
Cool. And while you guys are watching that, I saw Birds of Passage, which all I'll really say about that is it's about Indian tribes in Colombia and their slow sort of rise during the 1970s and 80s with the drug trade into America, and how like all the wealth that this man acquires on his sort of path to first like pay a dowry for a girl, and then he just sort of rises, and then, you know, it's sort of a classic Scarface type, like almost Shakespearean rise and fall, but one of the best films I've seen this year, for sure. And then finally we saw Sink or Swim.
Oh, I love Sink or Swim.
It was very funny. It was like funny and sarcastic, kind of crude.
It's very like,
but I liked it.
Real.
I liked it. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking
so
for.
Very real.
I feel like I really liked that pretty much the entire movie was like in cool temperature.
Yeah.
Like, it was all pretty much cool temperature, and what I really, really noticed is, I think it was really subtle, and I don't know if I'm just making it up, but like in the beginning of the movie, the neighborhood had like really low saturation and everything, and at the very end, I don't know, without giving too much, I don't know if it matters if we give it away, but at the very end, like, I guess kind of the main character, he's like hugging his wife and like spinning in the front lawn, and the vibrance like went, like the saturation went up a lot, and I was like, oh, he's happy.
Nice.
Like,
yeah, no, because the cool tones would represent his depression at the beginning of the film. Yeah. And like him like taking his antidepressants and whatever else. Yeah. And then, oh, that's so nice.
But it was just so real, and I feel like it makes you a lot more aware of, I don't know, just I guess mental illness, especially in like men.
Yeah, the movie really takes its time with each of the characters.
Which I actually liked.
Yeah, it really feels like a coming-of-age movie, except about adults. Like, every single one of them is going through a huge, like, crisis. And, like, the synchronized swimming, it's weird. It's not like in most, I think, American comedies where, like, it's the main vessel for everything. Like, there are tons of sequences where they don't discuss the swimming thing at all. It kind of comes in and out of the movie. The main focus is, like, telling, like, the full story of each character. Like, each character gets, like, for lots of the time in the movie, I'm like, who is the main character? Because the main character who you're introduced to first, they're, like, 25-minute sequences where he's, like, not even in it, and they're just looking at other people. So I thought that was really cool.
I liked when they kind of got in, like, for a little bit, it kind of had a cycle to it. It was, like, all the characters getting really in-depth in each of the characters and going through their week and everything they're going through, and then swim practice where they're all kind of sloppy and doing their own thing, and then in the locker room. In the locker room, I loved. It was an absolute, like, a whole new definition to, like, locker room talk and, like, locker room dynamics. Yeah. It was an absolute, like, supportive place and bonding place, and there was, like, strict, like, no judgment. It's where men could cry. It's where men could be candid about their issues. It's where they would just be supportive of one another and what they're going through. It was great. I loved that.
Yeah, it was fantastic. If you wanted to try to give the film, like, a deep meaning, I would say it's about, like, masculinity in crisis, like, for these people. Like, all of them, it's all the main characters are men. They're doing something that's considered very feminine, like synchronized swimming, and they're using it to deal with all these issues that are not really strongly, like, gone after. Like, a lot of things are implied in the movie, I noticed. Like, love interests aren't really, like, gone after all the way, but you sort of notice characters maybe like each other. Maybe they're having trouble with their sex lives. You see a lot of each character's personal life, and then through that, you get a lot of other implications about who they are.
Yeah.
So it's cool seeing that. It's cool. You don't see that a lot in American movies, even, like, slice of life comedies, where, like, nothing, the pacing is sort of, like, left just to go naturally with how the characters need to be shown. And that's pretty cool.
I also really like the music. They were all, like,
it was all
like,
over the place.
80s American
but it was
power
so
anthems.
good.
Yeah.
It was so great.
The music was great.
Especially for, like, each of the, like, different countries.
Yeah.
It was a different vibe. I like that.
It kind of has a British comedy vibe to me, too. I don't know if you guys have seen a lot of those, but it has that vibe where it's very, like, self-deprecating. All the jokes are about, like, the characters' flaws and, like, what they suck at and how they're assholes. Like, the humor is very much, it reminds me a lot of British humor.
Yeah. I like that they could be really candid at some points, but then at the same time be, like, very supportive. I like that all of them knew that they had to find a balance, and I also really liked that they were very candid with each character's flaws.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just that life had handed them a bad lot. Like, they don't all act like great people 100% of the time, and that's just life. And they still love each other, and they still powered through. Like, even, like, the coach that they hated, like, they powered through. And I thought that was, like, a really important message.
I'm not sure what their runtime was, but I feel like it must have been long, just because they gave you so much of each character. Like, there is not a character where it's just like, oh, it's that guy. There's no one like that pretty much in the whole movie. Every single side character, everyone on the team is given, like, something that makes them super unique and gives them some really important role on the team, which is really cool.
Yeah. I liked that for a movie that leads up to a big competition, the score was not the climax of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. Like, the gold medal was, like,
it was
a bonus.
Exactly.
It was not, like, the big moment. It was the applause. It was the acknowledgement and the recognition that no one ever gave them. Which is really cool. I also didn't realize until the very last scene that the two coaches were the partners.
I put that together at the end too.
Yeah,
I was
like,
like, wait
what?
I didn't notice it. It was a framed picture on, I don't know, the blonde coach. I don't remember her name.
Yeah.
But there was a framed picture of the two girls on her desk.
What? And that was the accident that brought her out of it.
Yes.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that.
Oh,
That's
watch
crazy.
To figure out what we're talking about.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a really subtle. It was a framed picture.
They keep it as a mystery because those characters really don't act like they know each other very much. There's a little bit of it now that I'm looking back, like.
But they're not like. You know what
it's
I mean?
not strongly implied that they have a shared history. At least it didn't seem like it.
It doesn't show that they have like a bond.
Yeah.
I feel like it gave a whole new meaning when she was like spraying the hose in her face when she was drunk.
Yes.
Because I wish I knew their names. Okay. But like the girl was talking about how like she didn't treat her partner well after the accident and blamed it on her and resorted to alcoholism, and then when she did break her sobriety, she was spraying a hose in her face and she was like fucking drunk bitch or something like that. Like she said, like worthless. She said something really nasty, and you thought it was just because she was mean, but it was really because the alcoholism, that's like what tore them apart. And I guess they were at a place where they were at least like working near each other. They didn't have a great relationship, but
man, that makes a lot of sense.
Right?
Because there's a scene where she's like, she tries to make it look like they're doing well. Like, the girl in the wheelchair comes in, and then she's like, oh no, great job guys, you're killing it. Like, she tries to put on a show of them doing well. Which I was like, why does she care that much? That what they think? And now I see why.
And the whistling over each other.
Yeah, I wonder if it's meant to be sort of under wraps, or if it's like the language barrier that made it so it wasn't super obvious.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was really interesting. I thought that was a 5. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was really good.
Very good.
And it's a great break from seeing like a lot of American comedies like that.
Yeah.
It's really like refreshing. Like it feels super different from what we're usually presented with.
I'm not very like versed in international film, but I feel like American film is extremely formulaic, and every movie is kind of just like another movie with different characters. And this is very refreshing. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and it shows that a lot of conventions are like not universal, they're just American. Like in Sink or Swim, there are times where like a love interest is implied, but they never follow through with it. Where I feel like in American movies, if you're gonna show two characters like looking at each other flirtatiously,
you're gonna follow through.
You gotta follow
till
through.
The end.
Yeah. Where here it's like real. It's more like real life, where maybe you flirted with them, maybe nothing comes of it. You know.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be as clean and resolved. Any other thoughts?
No.
Good talk, guys.
Thanks for watching. Smash that subscribe button. Throw us a link. Throw us a comment.
I'm gonna like.
Peace out.
Oh, the hat really makes the YouTuber thing.
Yeah.